The same thing goes for the physical posture of meditation as well. The idea isn't to lock ourselves into this rigid posture, but to allow ourselves to be soft and organic. As we sit, you're going to find that your posture bends or twists, that your thumbs become flatter, or that your thumbs come apart entirely. And it's not to make this into a matter of good and bad, but to use it to bring about more awareness. When our thumbs go flat or when they come apart, becoming aware of it, we just bring them back into a nice round circle. When we find ourselves sitting off in a posture that's not straight, just becoming aware of it and bringing ourselves back to neutral, bringing ourselves back to the center and starting again. The most complex of all of the senses that we deal with in meditation is, of course, the mind. In the teachings of Buddhism, the mind is considered the sixth sense organ. Thought, emotion, images are its object. And as we sit, certainly we can find a balance, a middle ground with the rest of our senses. But the mind is a bit more tricky. It's a lot easier to get caught up in a thought, either liking it and getting carried away, indulging in it, or really finding it difficult and uncomfortable and trying to avoid it. The same goes with emotions that come up. If we get angry or we feel anger coming up while we're sitting, we want to, I'm meditating right now, I don't want to be angry, or I'm feeling sad, and I should be feeling happy because I'm meditating. It's very easy to get into a conflict or a polar relationship with our thoughts, with our emotions, and with images that come up during sitting meditation. The practice with the mind is exactly the same as the practice with every other sense while we're doing sitting meditation, which is to bring ourselves back to center, to bring ourselves back to this middle ground and keep going. The way that we do this is through using the breath in Zen meditation. So I'd like to spend a little bit of time talking about how to breathe while we're doing Zen practice. As I've said before, our mouth is closed, so we're going to start by breathing through the nose. In our day-to-day lives, we tend to breathe very strongly into the chest. This is very invigorating, and it really helps to stimulate the intellectual mind, which is great. But for sitting meditation, we want to allow this to settle down a little bit. You want to relax the upper respiratory muscles as much as possible and allow yourself to breathe fully into the abdomen. This same spot just below your navel, your hara, is where you want the breath to be motivated from, both in breathing in and breathing out. If you imagine, instead of pushing the air in through your nose, but instead drawing it from your abdomen so that your diaphragm acts like a bellows. So as you're inhaling, your abdomen expands outwards. And as you exhale, not just allowing the air to flap out of you, just fall out of you, but motivating that breath again from just below the navel. So after we breathe in, breathing out, the abdomen contracts. Breathing in, breathing out. Now, for the purposes of demonstration, I'm exaggerating this a bit. You don't need to breathe any more sort of slowly or deeply or more spiritually or more Zen or anything like this. It's a very natural breath, and you're just paying attention to how it is that you're breathing, making sure that the upper chest is relaxed and bringing that awareness, bringing that intention into your lower abdomen. Just so. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to use the breath as an anchor for our mind. Because again, as I said, the mind is the one sense that we have the most trouble with. It's the one where we get attached or we want to get away from. So what we do is a simple exercise of counting the breath. So that as we're breathing in, we simply count 1. As we breathe out, you count 2. Breathing in, we count 3. Breathing out, count 4. and we continue until we reach 10. And then we come back to 1 and start again. Now, if you find that you get to 14, 25, 36, it's not a problem, it's not wrong, but we recognize that we've hopped on sort of autopilot and we've just continued. And usually what's happened is we've started to count and think about something, or and be distracted by our thoughts, or and be trying to fight off whatever emotion has arisen. Just recognize that we've gone past 10 and come back to 1. If you find yourself at 3, 4, I wonder what I'm going to have for lunch, I wonder what so-and-so's doing later, I forgot what number I'm on, again, just come back to 1 and start again. This exercise is not about becoming a successful breath counter, and it doesn't matter how many times that you're able to count from 1 to 10. This practice is about bringing awareness to where we are with our thoughts and our emotions. When we find ourselves being distracted, that moment that the awareness that we have fallen off, the awareness that we have lost the count, is of the greatest importance. Coming back to the task at hand, coming back to this activity of counting the breath, is what we're trying to develop, to cultivate this fundamental awareness of where we are and what we're doing, and allowing ourselves to come back to center and resume from a grounded and central, balanced place. So those are the basics for developing a stable and consistent Zen meditation practice. The greatest piece of advice that I can offer you is to not try to go too far too fast. In the long run, it provides a better foundation for you to start by doing just 2 minutes or 5 minutes and do it regularly every single day than it is to do 40 minutes once a week. The idea here is to try to integrate a regular practice into your life that can sustain you, rather than to make it into something special that you do every once in a while. Meditation practice is gradual. Meditation practice makes changes over time, but in order for it to do that, you really need to practice it on a stable and consistent schedule.